here for
Yeah.
there you go, for what is a really important conversation. So appreciate you all being here today. So as you may know, over the past 80 years, the Heart of Florida United Way has become Central Florida's most comprehensive health and human services nonprofit and the largest provider of funds to the region's most critical health and human services program. The Heart of Florida United Way also operates 211, which is Central Florida's information and assistance, crisis, suicide, and referral helpline. The Volunteer Resource Center, which connects thousands of volunteers to impactful volunteer activities every year. And the Ryan White program, in addition to internal programs in the areas around education, financial stability, and health. We also work with many of our community partners, such as you all, to take action in times of crisis. When Hurricane Ian swept across our cities and towns just a few short weeks ago, the Heart of the United Way moved quickly to fundraise and distribute $1 million in emergency assistance to more than 3,000 households in order to provide food and essential supplies to families impacted the most by the hurricane. Our ultimate mission is to serve what we call the ALICE population. ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. So those are our households, our families that are working really hard, but they're really one emergency away from being in true financial peril and having to make really difficult decisions about whether they pay rent or childcare or transportation, just really difficult situations. And we all know Alice. It's the cashier at your grocery store, the childcare worker who you drop your child off to, your favorite server at your local restaurants. These are individuals that are also strongly affected by unexpected hardships and look to their elected leaders for support and guidance, which is why we are, again, so grateful you're here with us today. Heart of Florida United Way and all of you are committed to helping ALICE households achieve stability for themselves and their families. One way we can accomplish this is through our financial stability programs, which helps to remove financial barriers and promote financial stability, literacy, and empowerment in our community. Bank On is one of those programs, and it's one I firmly believe in. By raising awareness and sharing the information you're about to hear, you can help your constituents access secure and low cost, no cost accounts to confidently build a financial foundation for themselves and their families. So it's my honor, you've already met her, but Mia Wessner is our wonderful Bank On manager who will give you more information about this transformative program and how it can help our community. So take it away, Mia.
Thank you so much, Heath. Really appreciate that. So yeah, I also work with Heath at Heart of Florida United Way. As he mentioned, I am the Bank On manager. So I manage both our Bank On program here at Heart of Florida United Way, and I also lead our Bank On coalition at the Bank On of Greater Orlando. So same name, but we have the program and the corresponding coalition that both work together to try and accomplish essentially the same goal. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about why we're here. I'm going to assume that most of the people on our call probably haven't heard of Bank On or maybe aren't too familiar with it. It is a sort of one that is often heard passively, but a lot of people aren't really familiar fully with what this subject actually is and what this initiative actually is. So what we are here for is to talk about both the unbanked and the underbanked population and how being unbanked and unable to connect with the traditional financial institutions in this country is really doing them a disservice, and how Bank On can actually help to bridge that gap and provide a better connection there. So what does that look like? Well, it starts with the unbanked. So we're going to start talking with them first. Unbanked people, what I mean by that is that these are people who do not have any type of account at a federally insured bank or credit union. So they don't have any type of account that they're using transactionally. They might be going to a check casher to deposit their checks weekly, or they might be using fintech apps, perhaps on their phone to do those normal transactions. Sometimes they use pay cards as well. That can be a popular option for people that are unbanked or not using a regular bank account. They use the pay card option, which for anyone who has not used it before can again be a very expensive alternative. There are often a lot of fees charged along with those to not only access your money and withdraw money, but also to look at what amount you have in your account, which is just absurd. You know, nobody should be charged for looking to see how much money they have. So as of 2009, this included a little over 7 million households here in the United States. The FDIC does a survey every couple of years on the state of the unbanked in our country. And they have found that there are many reasons for people not wanting to be banked or not being banked currently. The top two of those reasons include the first, that they don't have enough money to meet the minimum balance requirements. A lot of times we all know, well, I don't know if anyone here has opened an account recently or not, so we might not all know, but if you haven't, a lot of times those requirements are somewhere in the area of $50 to $100 to get started. And that's something that a lot of people don't have immediately when they are starting with very little to begin with. The second top reason is that they don't trust banks. And, you know, I think we can understand that. I think culturally speaking, this is something that, you know, banks have had kind of a bad rap through the years. They've done some things that are maybe not in the best line of sight for their consumer, their audience, in many different areas. But that is something that this Bank On initiative is working to, again, bridge and help with that gap, as well as to build that trust and to let them know that these accounts are meant to be transparent. They are meant to be accessible, and there is no surprise or, you know, catch, if you will. So some stats and facts around what that looks like here in Orlando. Like I said, in the US, that fully unbanked number was at 5.4 in 2019. For Florida, it was a little lower. We were at 3.8. And for our MSA, specifically in Orlando, Kissimmee, and Sanford, we were at 3.5 as of 2019. So you can see from this chart here that it did go down from 2015. We had it on the way down, and then it went back up a little bit from 2017 to 2019. So we don't know what the number is looking like right now. I know it's 2022. We are hoping to get that additional 2021 data by the end of, I think, this year. We'll have that reporting season done. So that is something that we're very interested in looking to see, is what that number is looking like right now, because we all know that we just went through a pandemic. We're sort of, knock on all the wood, still in it a little bit. And so with that in mind, we know that, you know, the cost of living has gone way up. Inflation has gone way up. We know that everything is much more expensive now. So that number very well might have gone up or might have shifted in some way. We just don't know. But I think it's something to keep in mind, the fact that we have had a lot of additional struggles in this ALICE population, for sure. They have been hardest hit by the last 2 years. So in terms of the actual numbers, this looks like for Orlando, again, specifically, based off that 2019 number in the Orlando MSA, we would have a little over 31,000 unbanked households. This is not people, this is households. So this is families, you know, head of household, or the person reporting is not banked currently. Then the underbanked number is a lot higher. The underbanked number is a little over 200,000 households. And you might be wondering, okay, well, what is unbanked? Great question. Our underbanked population is the other half of this audience. So underbanked people are those who maybe do have, or maybe in the past have had some type of account at a bank or credit union, but they still are using those high risk and high cost check cashing services, or alternative financial services is what they're called as well. So again, as of 2019, this included a little over 22 million households in the USA. A lot of people just don't know what Bank On certified accounts are. They don't know what Bank On is, and they don't know how it or if it can help them. So a lot of times they are using these just additional, both transactional and credit alternative financial services. So you can see sort of a glimpse of what that might look like there, and sort of what they're having to use, or what they are using, what they're choosing to use, not necessarily out of have, because certainly, like I said, there is a distrust. Some people know that they can have a bank account, but they don't trust a bank to have their best interest at heart. So again, that's something that we want to help educate with and provide awareness around. So to give you a little snapshot of what this looks like, this is taken from the survey that, again, was the FDIC unbanked survey from data in their 2019. But this is what the difference is, and kind of shows you a little bit of a glimpse of what services are being used by the unbanked population most and by the banked population most. You can see that money orders are way higher for people who are unbanked. So they're spending money on money orders. We know those are not free. They're also using check cashing a lot more. They're paying check cashing fees each and every time they go to make that deposit or have a check cashed. They're using bill payment services a lot more than those who are banked, because those who are banked are also able to oftentimes more easily have that bill pay option through their banking provider or through other utilities that work with financial providers. So that is another just a huge area where, again, people can save money by not having to spend on those extra fees. And as you can see, the overall number here for money order, check cashing, bill payment service is extremely much higher on the unbanked side versus the banked side. And I don't think it's worth not noting is the fact that our P2P payment service, this is a peer-to-peer payment service. Things and examples of this might be Zelle, Venmo, Cash App. When you're sending money back and forth between things, people who are banked, you can see, are able to do that or do that at a much higher rate than those who are unbanked. And that's probably because it's a lot easier to do that and to send money when you are banked. You have access to Zelle, which is free money transfers a lot of times if your bank is connected with that. And there's a handful of other ways that they will allow transfers to happen easily as well. So again, just to provide a snapshot there. So why does it matter? So the big connector here is, again, by using these alternative financial services, people end up paying fees for every transaction that is made. They are offered loans with very high interest rates, often up to 200, 300%. They keep people in the cycle of debt. You know, these really are predatory offerings. They are meant to get you in real quick and keep you there for a long time. Unbanked clients who became banked during counseling for financial counseling sessions were almost 8 times more likely to increase their savings relative to those who had never become banked. So that is a huge difference. By having that financial counseling, people are able to get that help and have a much higher chance of increasing their savings. And then my favorite statistic I had to throw in was, on average, a person can save $40,000 over their lifetime on average. And this was taken from a study that was done, I think, a couple years ago as well. So that number, I imagine now, is probably much higher. So when you think about really, truly the added number of how much can be saved, it is ultimately someone's salary, you know, someone's paycheck for a full year that can be saved just by having a bank account. So what we are doing is spreading the word about Bank On certified accounts. So a Bank On certified account is an account that is a transactional product. It is offered by a federally insured banking institution or credit union. So generally this is a checking or a prepaid account. And like I said, it is insured. So people are not going to lose their money. There is no sort of risk there in whether or not they are going to, you know, should something happen, that they are going to lose their funds. So that is very important. These accounts are secure. In order to be certified, a bank or credit union must either have or create a product and then submit that product with all the details around the qualifications for that with their application. And it is then certified by the CFE Fund. So we're going to hear more about the CFE Fund in just a little bit. One of our speakers, David, is going to be sharing a bit about what they are and what they do. But the product and its details after it's submitted will then be measured against what is called the National Bank on Account Standards. And then it'll either become certified or not once it's approved and has met all those requirements. So what are the national account standards? Well, that is the whole meat and potatoes of what a bank on certified account is. I know I keep saying a bank on certified account, and you're probably thinking, what is a certified account? Well, it's an account that meets these requirements. So what that means is that it is safe from any surprise or maybe hidden fees that a lot of times people just don't know about when they sign up for a new account. But that includes overdraft, non-sufficient funds fees, account activation, closure, dormancy, inactivity, and low balance fees. So these, again, are meant to be a good, easy access point, very transparent in terms of the account that is being offered. No additional fees are being charged. Overdraft is something that is a great thing for some people, and it's a terrible thing for other people. And again, we don't want anybody to feel like they are being penalized for not having money. And so by paying these fees or by charging these fees, it just makes it that much harder. So none of those, these also provide an easy entry point with only a minimum opening deposit of $25 or less. The maximum they can charge is $25. To get started. And a lot of the banks that have accounts, banks and credit unions, excuse me, but a lot of the accounts on our list don't need anything to get started. I would say at least half of them right now are zero to get started. All you'd have to do is be able to fund or provide some sort of funding to the account, I believe usually within 60 to 90 days. Just depends on the provider and the bank that you've chosen. So just again, great easy entry there for people that have that lower access. There is an affordable monthly fee of only $5 or less. And what that means is if it's waivable, if that fee can be completely waived, so there is no monthly fee, then they can charge $10, but they have to have at least 2 ways to waive that fee. Generally, this will be something like signing up for direct deposit, using your debit card and having a purchase show up on that. Using online bill pay, things like that. But those requirements or those options for waiving, I should say, will be listed during the sign up. So if it's not waivable, it'll only be $5 or less. So again, very low access, very affordable. And then there are some functional options as well for bill pay, as I mentioned earlier, and then your general deposits, withdrawals, money transfers, again, that I mentioned earlier as well. So the bill pay option is one that I do like to highlight as well here. If bill pay is offered, by your financial institution and is able to work online, then that needs to be offered for free. If it is not, because not all banks and credit unions have made it to the online fully functional aspect of that yet. If that's the case, then they have to provide the consumer with at least 4 free money orders or cashier's checks so that they can pay their utilities. So again, still making sure there are no additional fees, being charged or going along with that. So the big picture of this is that we have the Bank On initiative. What we are working towards is this. First of all, we want to provide education on the many ways that a person can benefit from having and actually using a secure and affordable bank or credit union account. Whether or not that is a certified account, completely up to them, but we absolutely want to let them know of the option. Secondly, we want to provide guidance in the community on where to locate these accounts and how to sign up for a Bank On certified account if that's something that they're interested in. We want to make sure that we are being as helpful as we can and guiding people to the right place. And then lastly, we are working to increase access for everyone by assisting banks and credit unions with offering products that are Bank On certified. So if they haven't heard of this initiative, it's part of our job to help spread the word and let them know that this is an option that they can apply for the certification if they'd like to. Or, this is something that can give them further marketing, essentially, because we are spreading the word about these. We are asking you to spread the word about these. And we have a national initiative to spread the word about these. So really it is in their best interest, and it's in their consumers' best interest as well. So lastly, or to tie it all up, I should say here, you really have to have money to save money. I think most of us do understand that. Having a bank on certified account helps you avoid these late fees, predatory lending, and those really high interest rates. Which means that, as Heath mentioned at the beginning of our session, ALICE families have more resources to reduce their risks, stay healthy, save and invest in their education or assets, and save for unexpected emergencies and expenses. You can see on our chart to the side here that if you are unbanked, you have, as I mentioned earlier, a much, much harder time saving for those unexpected emergencies and expenses that do pop up. So really, just by being banked, you have a much better leg up in that area and opportunity to be able to help provide that savings. So again, what we are doing here, and the reason that we have asked you to be here today, is because we have this initiative in this chapter here in Greater Orlando, or Central Orlando, and Central Florida, I should say. So we have the Bank on of Greater Orlando program, which actively works to make the connections around Central Orlando and enhance the access with financial empowerment resources and education, starting with that secure and affordable checking account. So that is what our program does. We've done this in the way of workshops and trainings. I am happy to come out and speak if you have an audience that you think this would be a great fit for. We work to really spread the word, like I said, and make those connections in and around the community as much as we can. We also have the coalition, which collaborates with 24 different banking institutions, so that's banks and credit unions. We have 6 different CDFIs and 29 nonprofit resource providers. So it's about half financial institutions and almost half of nonprofit providers. And this is led by an advisory team that we have. That's a small group of, I believe, 9 people at this point, who lead this coalition and help us to provide our strategic objectives. Right now, we have our network expansion, our education, and our workforce development objectives for our year 1 is what we are working on. And we have been working together with this coalition since it launched, I believe, back in April of this year. So we're still pretty new, but we've done a lot of great work so far. And we would love your help in continuing this work and getting involved as well. So with that, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to pause here and announce our next presenter, who is Patrick Eccles, who is the director of Bank on Florida at the Florida Prosperity Partnership. So Patrick has a lot of information and is able to oversee the state level of Bank On. And he works with myself as well as many other coalition leaders. So Patrick, take it away.
Thank you, Mia. I appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity to participate today. So as Mia said, I'm Patrick Eccles with Florida Prosperity Partnership Coalition. If you're familiar with that organization, you know that we're a support staff for financial capability practitioners everywhere, and not just in the state of Florida now. But so we're trying to support and promote financial capability. And so my role is director of Bank on Florida. So it's a statewide coalition. And so we do have normal responsibilities that you would in a regular coalition, in addition to talking with financial institutions, encouraging them to adopt the national account standards and create a certified account, and working with organizations to find opportunities to integrate Bank On into the programs, to enhance the programs that they're already doing. I also work closely throughout the state of Florida with different regions that either are starting a coalition or have reached out to say, hey, we'd love to start a coalition. And so what we do there is we work closely with our partners at FDIC and OCC, and we work to kind of build up several planning calls and build up to a Bank On session where we can bring the information to the community. and then help them kind of form or build out a strategy. Because what I think is so important, and certainly what Bank on Greater Orlando has done that's very impressive, is having a strategy that's in place as you're starting to launch the coalition. It's so important because it really provides buy-in for everyone that's involved in it. And they know their roles, they know how they can contribute. So from a statewide level, just to give you an idea, and I had to write it down because the numbers are growing, which is a good thing. But we've got on the west coast of Florida, Bank on Suncoast. So it's Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. I think there's a few other cities there as well. That's the biggest coalition right now in the state of Florida in terms of membership. They have a tremendous amount of membership there. Bank on Miami also is active down here in South Florida where I'm at. And so those are the two that have been in place probably in Florida for the longest period of time. But I'm happy to say that in the past 16 months, Bank on Lauderhill has launched, which is, you may be familiar with that city, but it's a city in Broward County, so not far from Fort Lauderdale. And then, of course, Greater Orlando had launched, and Bank on Tallahassee just recently launched in September. So right now we've got what I would say 5 very active coalitions in the state of Florida, 6 if you count Bank on Florida. And I'm happy to report also that Bank on Jacksonville is moving towards launching. Bank on West Palm Beach it is moving towards an official launch. So that's 2 more there. So we could have 7. And then Volusia Flagler, we're looking to help them kind of relaunch that coalition. And then we've been in conversations with Polk County, Indian River County. We're looking at Immokalee and Fort Myers. And we have an intent also to help establish a coalition in Pensacola. So Florida's not square or rectangle, but we want to hit every corner of the state that we can, so that we can have a good coverage in coalitions throughout the state of Florida. Now, that's an important step to build the coalitions. But also, we as a state coalition, we try to stay involved in helping build those relationships that exist. So what makes up a coalition, and when I always talk about it, I always express to people that there's the account and there's the coalition, and they're powerful in both in their own right. Obviously, having that account being affordable and can't overdraft it. I mean, that I think Mia had mentioned the 2 most often cited reasons why people say they don't have a bank account. And the first one was they don't have enough money to maintain the monthly account balances. So that suggests to me that that's a person who says, hey, I'd love to have an account, but I don't think I can. So they would be receptive to it. The second one is they don't trust banks. And that usually can come from a bad experience they had in the past where they had an account. They might have had overdraft. They may have had miscellaneous fees that they really weren't aware of, and watch money coming out of their account. So, in that situation, you can't argue with someone having kind of a distrust level. But the great thing about the national account standards is they speak to both of those concerns. They erase the misconception that someone may have that they can't open an account, and they also speak to those individuals that may not trust the bank or financial system, may not want to participate in it. But what makes up a coalition that's so important is it's made up of government entities, municipalities, cities, state, counties. It's also made up of nonprofit organizations, regulatory organizations like FDIC and OCC, and then, of course, financial institutions. The nonprofit arm of it is so important because they are the trusted partners to those individuals that may not be banked. And so if a nonprofit or community resource provider believes in Bank On and sees the great value that it has, being able to relay that information to their client is going to be, I think, more receptive for that client than it would be if it came directly from a bank. So that's so very important. So those 4 groups make up coalitions. Now, governments, the cities, municipalities, I can tell you, Bank on Lauderhill was actually, the initiative was started by the mayor, Mayor Thurston down there. That's his initiative. So that's actually, they're the lead organization on it. the ones that are running and driving Bank On Coalition activities. But I can tell you also, Bank On Tallahassee, it's led by this Chamber of Commerce there, Capital City Chamber of Commerce, but the city of Tallahassee is very involved in it. They have someone on their advisory council that's been very involved in the planning, and they see the value in it as well. And also the city of Jacksonville, when we reached out to them, they were exploring possibly leading it. They thought maybe they didn't have the capacity to do it, but they said, hey, this is a great thing and we want to be involved in it. We can support it in every way we can. So you see a lot of cities. I know Bank On Suncoast, I think it's the city of St. Pete, is really actively involved in that. So there's a great role for government in Bank On. Now, it's not only to be a champion of Bank On, to promote it. That's one of the things we always seek. Anybody that can talk about Bank On and spread the word to people that are unbanked or underbanked or unbanked is a great thing. But it's also an opportunity to integrate and I'll tell you how that kind of works. So integration is, we not only talk about these Bank On accounts that they exist, but we actually bring access directly to a program that already exists. So with a nonprofit organization, it could be maybe they're working with at-risk youth or aged out foster care youth, and they when they do their intake, it may be as simple as just adding a question: do you have a bank account? Are you interested in opening a bank account? And then having that access there so that oftentimes they can open these online with the assistance of those counselors that they're working with. But the other way too is with governments, there's two ways that can work. So, oftentimes a city, when they send out their bills, say a water bill or electric bill, they may insert something there on Bank On. Or if residents come in to pay and they're paying with money orders, to have the knowledge to say to those residents, hey, are you interested in opening a bank account? You can pay this online, much more convenient and safe. That's one way to do it. And then the other way that's really a great fit is where there are payment streams. So anywhere where a government entity is paying out, it could be any type of support. And we saw this during the pandemic. One of the things that happened when the support was issued out and people were able to get those checks, if you didn't have a bank account, it was difficult to get it. It was delayed. So having that bank account was really crucial in helping people get directly deposited those funds that would do them. But if a government entity has, a program where they're sending out money on a monthly basis, their odds are going to say there are individuals that are, that have that they're going to have to get a paper check. So looking at that and saying, hey, we can add this we can make this an option. So we're not forcing anybody to open a bank account, but we're letting them know that if you're interested, here are safe and secure bank accounts or credit union accounts that you can open, and we can directly deposit those funds. So those payment streams are a great way to integrate. So there's many different ways that a government can be involved in it. I would say, as you look throughout the state of Florida, there may be some coalitions that are starting. There may be coalitions that already exist. But the great thing about these national account standards and these certified accounts is wherever those financial institutions are legally doing business, those accounts are viable. So you don't necessarily need to have a coalition in the area to be able to access these accounts. So what I would always suggest is certainly if you're in the central Orlando area, certainly reach out to Mia, but you can also reach out to myself. And anywhere if it's on a state level, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I'll put my contact information in the chat box. But I think what I've learned from being involved in Bank On, not only in this role, but when I was when I was in banking, is it's one of the not easiest, but it's one of the I think simplest transitions or partnerships to make, in the sense that it doesn't require a lot of capacity. It really is just being able to plug in that access to these accounts into programs that already exist, and it enhances those programs. So the good work that's being done can be enhanced even more. because it's giving people the opportunity to gain financial access, which really is a foundational component to financial capability. And then the power of the coalition is it's made up of so many great organizations, those 4 groups that I mentioned, but community resource providers that do so many different things that speak to financial capability, and financial institutions that are participating with certified accounts. They also have products that may be credit building loans, secured credit cards, small dollar loan amounts, entrepreneurship training, small business loans. So you're really able to get somebody entry into the financial system. And then hopefully within the components of all those great organizations that make up the coalition, be able to offer them kind of a menu of services and resources where they can really build a strong foundation, create financial capability, and hopefully achieve all those financial dreams that all of us dream of regularly every day. So that's the beauty of the coalition. And so I can tell you, Bank on Greater Orlando is doing a fantastic job. Mia's doing a fantastic job. I definitely enjoy working with her, as I do many of the coalitions throughout the state. And there's a lot of great work being done. So, I'd encourage you after this to reach out to Mia or myself if you want more information. Like she said, she's happy to do it. I'm happy as well to speak to anyone or any group. And I think getting that word out is an important component of it. So those are the important things I'd like to point out today. And I'd like to then go ahead and turn it over to David Rothstein from the CFE Fund, Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. David's going to kind of give you an overview of some very important things. And the CFE Fund is really the driving force behind all the bank-owned coalitions. So David, you want to go ahead and take it away?
I do. Thanks so much, Patrick and Mia. It's our partnerships and work set in Florida are fantastic and some of my favorite connections. So we really appreciate all the work that you've done and continue to do. It's again between Orlando, Suncoast, and of course the state coalition work in Florida, starting up the local chapters. We could not be more excited. Bank On now has more than 100 coalitions like these around the country. And so while Florida is doing amazing work in connecting these and adding new banks and credit unions to the mix, we're so excited to have more than 100 of these coalitions, some at the state level, some at the county or city or regional level out there. So again, we're really excited to continue this. Additionally, we are really excited that the national movement continues to add accounts. We have more than 280 financial institutions offering Bank On certified accounts. And that includes, some of the largest financial institutions in the country, including the top largest 10 banks in the country, multinational banks. But it also includes some of the smallest banks and credit unions that you can think of. 1 branch, 2 branch credit unions are certainly part of this mix. So again, we could not do this without our local coalitions working with their financial institutions to get them in, because it definitely the local coalitions and the local banks represent more of what Bank On is about than anything else. Additionally, we're really excited that more than 46,000 bank branches offer a Bank On certified account, which is just incredibly, that's huge growth. So we're thrilled that's happening. We're also really excited that that represents about, I think, roughly 54% of all bank branches in the country offer and have access to a certified bank account. And a lot of these accounts, and Mia touched on this, a lot of these accounts are online available, and you can open them online. I think it's probably about 1/6 of the accounts you can fully open online at this point. But all of them have some degree of online banking, which is exciting. Additionally, we know that we are hitting the target markets that we're hoping to hit. When we started this work in 2015, bank branches that were within a mile of low and moderate income households, it was about 60% had Bank On account access. Now it's above 92%. So these small financial institutions, these small partnerships are not really small in the scheme of their impact, because that's adding all of those has made a huge difference for the movement. Additionally, we know that close to 60% of accounts that were opened by people that lived in communities that were 50% or more minority population communities. So we have work to do in the racially homogeneous areas of the country. There's no doubt, but I like our progress. It continues to increase and goes up, but we could do more. There's no doubt about that. Additionally, we, Mia touched on this and Patrick certainly touched on this. We're really excited about the future of the programmatic connections that we've made and that our coalitions continue to make. And by those programmatic connections, I mean, we worked with the IRS and FDIC during COVID relief to help people open bank accounts to receive their stimulus. That's one really exciting development. Additionally, we worked with states that were offering the PUA Unemployment Assistance Program to try to get accounts to be opened during that. So we had some state Jobs and Family Service or whatever the offices might be offering those. That was another great programmatic shift because, as everybody has said in this call, the best time to talk about banking access is when people are getting paid. So we continue to look to the future of seamless program integration. We want people opening these accounts. We want them to be opening these accounts when they're getting paid or direct deposits, when they have to make payments themselves. Patrick's example of people paying utilities in cash and money orders, we hear it all the time. It's one of the biggest red flags for when people either have a bank account that's not working for them or they need an account that is going to work for them. So those are some of the big national trends that we're seeing. I do think that the number of unbanked households is consistently underreported because the people who are answering these surveys and census and different pieces, I think, are always those who are a little bit more likely to have account access and have accounts. So I think that there's no doubt in my mind that there's a downward trend in the amount of people that are unbanked. I think that's true, but I think the numbers to me also, I'm not 100% sold on all of those numbers. So I think we still obviously have a lot more work to do. I think the underbanked number continues to rise, especially as online availability for different fringe financial products increase, that we all have a little bit more work to do there. So let me stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. And, really appreciate the time today to talk to you guys about what's going on nationally.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate your input and sort of that high level overview of just how far this work has come, because it really has come very far. And with that, we want to have just a short Q&A session. We're approaching towards the end of our session here. So what questions do you all have for us? We've covered a lot of information in this last 45 minutes or so. So what all are you wondering, or what can we help you clarify, if anything?
Hi, I'm Carolyn Austin with the City of Orlando Commissioner Bakari Burns' office. Since COVID happened, a lot of small businesses have opened up. People were unable to continue to seek work and started their own small business. Is this an opportunity for them where banking and they're starting from scratch and very little income? Is this an opportunity for them as well to use those resources from Bank On?
I'll jump in on that first, and then our other presenters, I'm going to say, you all feel free to add on as well. My response to that would be absolutely yes. Bank On would be for anyone and everyone, small business or individual consumer looking for a personal account. I think if they're looking for that financial foundation and they're looking for an account that will have, like we said earlier, none of those guaranteed fees, that easy entry point if they don't have much to get started with. And then that easy way that they can transfer. So if they are doing things and they need multiple accounts to keep their money management, for a business or whatever that might look like, then this certainly could be a good resource for them. These are individual and consumer accounts. So if they manage to grow their business and do very well, they might want to consider moving into a new account or something additional there. But I think that's a great fit, and this could be a really good. I'm glad you asked this question, Carolyn, because that makes a great point. Where, like to what David mentioned just earlier, when people are often looking towards the fintech solutions or maybe using an app instead on their phone instead of going to a traditional banking institution, they're also limiting themselves in usually a pretty big way in terms of the availability of products that they will have access to. For example, if somebody is banking with Chime, then they have one transactional checking works as a checking account where there's money going in and out pretty frequently. If they have, for example, Wells Fargo they have a certified account, a bank on certified account. So if they move to Wells Fargo and if they decide to bank there, they not only have a checking account, they have options for savings accounts. They have options for loans if they want a small business loan to have a little bit more to start up their business. They have, access to the financial counselors on site at the branches. They have people that they can go in and talk to. These are all things that people might not be thinking about initially when they're just thinking, oh, I got to get, my money somehow. What's the easiest and most convenient way? But if you're thinking long term, and especially for small business owners and those who are wanting to grow and build their business, this is a really good way for them to have access and start that relationship with a secure financial institution and go from there. Patrick and David, did you guys have anything to add there?
No, I think, Mia, you said that beautifully. That the word I was going to say is what you were talking about is just relationship. You have the benefit of building you have this coalition with this network of all these great financial institutions, not only with the certified product, but small dollar loans, business loans. So really having access to kind of know what's available out there as far as financial capability products is a really important thing that I don't know that it gets overlooked, but I think it's always important to kind of stress it and let people know that, the relationship is a big component too, especially as you're starting to build a business and moving forward and building wealth and having a financial institution that can cater to all your different needs is an important component of it.
David, did you have anything you wanted to add or throw in at all? No. Okay. All right. Did we have any other questions? Any other comments, concerns, or thoughts around this? Caroline, that was a great question. So thank you.
Mia, is there a website where they can find some of this information or a list of banks that are affiliated with the coalition that maybe somebody could use?
That is a great question, Daniel. Thank you so much for asking. Yes, so I will go ahead and drop those links in chat now. But yes, to answer your question, so we have a couple of different sites I would recommend. The first I just plugged into the chat is our Bank on Heart of Florida page. So this is a great resource where you can see all of the accounts that are available to be opened online in Florida, specifically for Florida residents. So what we did was we had the list of that, and we were able to go through and have not only a list of the certified accounts and show off those great benefits of everything a Bank on Certified account has to offer, but we also went through and added in a comparison chart so that people can see what the additional benefits are for a lot of these accounts. And what I mean by that is, in addition to none of the fees and the easy access and all the great things that that Bank On certified accounts do offer, there are a lot of other things that individual banks will offer with their accounts as well. Things like Zelle, which I mentioned earlier, is a peer-to-peer money transfer service that is for free for all the consumers. Some of them, like I said earlier as well, have no minimum deposit to get started. You can view that on our chart here at our site as well. Some of them do offer credit building products, identity theft protection and alerts. Some of them do even offer things like cashback and interest earned on a checking account, which is not something you find very often to begin with, but it's a great additional benefit for these. There are also at least 3 on our list right now that will give you an early paycheck option. So if you have clients that you're working with that, you know, are really loving Chime or really loving Cash App, I would tell them, look at the one that will pay you early for Bank On, because you know that that's going to be at a traditional and secured, insured financial institution, and you will be able to access your paycheck a couple of days earlier, same way that you could with Chime or some of the other apps. So with that, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to say also, definitely check out our website. I could go on for forever talking about that, but our other site I just plugged in as well is the CFE Funds Bank On website. So this is where you can reference the information that David was talking about just not too long ago around all of the total amount of accounts, all of the banks and branches that are offering them across the globe and across the state, both online and in the branches. So thank you so much for that question, Daniel. Did we have any other questions from our audience before we move to our final piece of the section, of this session, excuse me? Alrighty, I will take that as a no, and I will pass it over to Daniel, who is going to help us wrap this session and let us know about our next steps.
So thank you everybody for coming and taking time today to be with us here. I know that I've learned a lot today, and I know that this is something that probably a lot of us don't think about the issues with banking. So like Mia said, my name is Daniel Vanegas. I am the Advocacy and Public Policy Director for Heart of Florida United Way here in Orlando. You know, as you heard from some of our presenters, those in the ALICE population we all serve are already struggling to make ends meet, and nearly 34% of unbanked and 45% of underbanked households earn less than $30,000 per year. These families do need to spend their hard-earned money on check cashing fees and interest charge payday lenders. And with your help, we can introduce them to secure, affordable Bank On certified options. You know, we just want to encourage you guys to help us educate people about the availability of these programs. We are trying to roll this out to make sure that people know, and you guys as elected official offices, and some elected officials can help us really promote this and make sure that people know that this is an option for them, and that, you know, they are secure banking options that they can take advantage of. So going forward, I will be sending out a follow-up email. We will make sure that you guys receive the recording from this, as well as this will be on our YouTube page. I believe, Mia, this will probably be up on our YouTube page by today or tomorrow, correct?
I would say probably by the end of the week.
Okay, end of the week. And I will also be sending you guys emails with some resources that you guys can plug in on your newsletters, on your social media pages, with little blurbs so you guys can help us promote this as well. I will also put in my contact information, so feel free to reach out to me with any sort of questions, or trying to, like Mia said, if you guys want Mia to come out and speak to some of your residents, I can help you coordinate with all of that. So like I said, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to listen to this presentation. It is an important thing, and we are trying to encourage the education around Bank On. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Take care, everyone.